Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher, and we're going to discuss that topic that everybody loves to discuss. Gear sets and their inaccessibility and the hell that spawns from it. Or is it hell? What happened here? So, what we've seen is that Mythic Raiding, the new hardcore of the hardcore of the hardcore, is getting its own armor set. This is new. This is a new thing, new idea, not just a recolor. It's getting its own aesthetic. It will look different. And what we have seen so far, remember this is preview stuff, is that Mythic Raid sets are infinitely cooler than their counterparts lower down the PvE chain. They make the fucking LFR gear look atrociously bad. They even make the normal gear look really meh. Now, of course, people have their own subjective opinions on this, but in general, it's pretty much agreed the Mythic sets look way cooler. Way cooler. So, of course, what we expect to see, guys, is the rage! The ultimate rage! Why, Blizz? I deserve it, I deserve it, I deserve it. That hasn't happened. Has it? That's not happened. I scoured. I spent the last hour or so just scouring opinions, feedback from people. I even took it to the fucking WoW forums, US and EU combined. Where is the rage? It's just not there. It isn't there. In fact, people are happy. They're really upping their game. This looks fantastic. This is amazing. Where are the rages? What's going on? So curious. It's such a curious thing, isn't it? Now, I'm not here to tell you that, oh, this set looks amazing, that set looks amazing. In fact, I'll show you a couple of images, but you get the idea. Most of you have seen them anyway. But what we should discuss is this really interesting trend. Why are people not mad about this? Mythic Raiders, the guys who are going to be in the hardcore of the hardcore, are going to get their own completely unique and cooler armor sets than anybody else. They're getting their own little special snowflake. But we hate that, right? Guys, we hate that they're no-life nerds getting their own special snowflake stuff. Don't we hate that? Apparently not, actually. Apparently not. The vocal minority who complain about they pay their $10, they pay the equal amount of stuff, they should have the same access to stuff. They're not bothered at all. They don't care. But when it came to the LFR not being similar to normal mode gear, and of course heroic when it comes to Warlords of Draenor, then the rage was, well, you saw the videos. Yeah, you saw the response I got to some of my videos regarding that subject. And if you haven't seen them, I suggest you go if you want some good quality YouTube comments. Boom. They're great. So what the fuck is going on here? Let's have some theories. Let's have a discussion. This is a great topic to discuss because it really opens up a number of things that's going on in the community of the game and why Blizzard is really starting to take action in Warlords of Draenor and say, enough is enough. Fuck this. Let's draw a line in the fucking sand and let's hit people where it really counts, and that's where gear. Gear is where it counts for a lot of people. Items and stuff. People care about stuff in an RPG. They care about it. And we're going to take advantage of that. People need to be inspired again. They need to be inspired again. They need to feel like there's something to go on. They need a journey to go on. Let's inspire some people. I think one of the big problems when it came to the LFR thing that's come from this is that a lot of the guys who did the LFR truly believed they were raiding. Unequivocally, they believed they were raiding, and the fact that Blizzard came out and said, look, you know what, you're not even getting the same armor set looks anymore, right? You're not getting that. You're not going to have the same look and feel of the current stuff that is in a normal and heroic mode. And people are like, why the fuck not? We're raiding. We're looking for raid. That means we're in a raid and we are raiding. And Blizzard said, no, you're not raiding. That's the tourist mode. And people went, la 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 la. We're raiding. They don't want to... These are theories, okay? We've got a number of theories that might do this. There's one possible theory, is that it's not a case of I don't want to look like I can't raid. I want to look like I'm equally as good as the guys doing normal mode, right? I might be doing the easiest option to raid, but I don't want to look that way. But I also don't really care about looking like I'm doing the hardest content in the game, because that was never an option to me. So I don't care what the Mythic guys are getting. Because I don't want that anyway. Perhaps they don't want to be tarred with that brush of the no-life nerd or whatever it might be, despite the fact that it's cool. It's not, obviously, it's not about looking good. Because more than likely, they are going to be transmogging that gear anyway. More than likely going to be transmogging that gear anyway. It's not about looking good. It's looking like I'm not doing the easiest shit in the game. I want to look like I'm at least doing the normal mode. Is that part of it? One has to ask that question. Is the rage just because now there's a clear defining part of you visually, if you haven't transmogged it, that makes it appear like you weren't even doing normal mode and you're actually, yeah, you're in the crowd that's doing that. I don't want to look like that. I don't want to look like I'm doing the slackiest stuff in the game. I want to look like I'm on par with at least normal mode because that's considered really easy by the community. And surely it's not that much different from LFR, right? Right? Surely normal mode's not that much different from me standing and queuing in a dungeon. I don't get it, Blizz. What are you talking about? That's one possible situation that's arrived from this. Is it that case that, hey, the Mythic guys are the elite? I accept that I'm doing Little League and those guys are doing MLB, and therefore their rewards should be different. One thing I will never do is sit here and say people who are doing a different level of sport should get the same rewards. I truly just don't believe that. I don't believe that. If someone's playing super top end, super hardcore, and Mythic in Warlords of Draenor, as we well know, is a totally different dance to everything else. It works in its own set of rules. It plays to a different beat. It will work on a totally separate way of life. And therefore, they're going to get different rewards, and everyone's okay with that. Could we have expected some rage from the normal raiders? No, because they understand the situation, right? They get it. The normal raiders aren't asked. They don't give a fuck. It's like, oh, cool, I hope to get there one day. It really shows the difference between the guys, for me anyway, this is what my personal feeling is. It shows such a difference between the community from those who haven't jumped into the raiding community, haven't downed a boss that took a little bit of fucking work and a little bit of cohesion, a little bit of effort amongst everybody pulling off things. The ability to say some guy, good fucking job, and then it downed, and then it died, and then the loot appeared. The guys who didn't have to do progress, who didn't have to go on a journey. Because the guys who have been on that journey and have experienced that are like, oh, that's awesome, man. That's cool. Look at what the Mythic stuff is. I hope to get there. That's cool, man. Good for those guys. That seems to be the response is, yeah, that's fucking awesome, man. That's really cool. And then you see the Mythic guys and you're like, yeah, you know, that's something I want to get there. The normal raiders and the heroic raiders, whatever you will be in Warlords of Draenor, they don't care because they get the situation. They're fine with it. They seem to understand it. They've got a grasp on the situation. They know what's happening. They don't feel they deserve that gear. They don't feel they need to have it and be deserving of it for doing a different dance, to dancing to a different tune, to doing a different sport. They don't feel that way. The normal raiding community, the guys who understand, they're just so fine. They're not bothered. It was really this total diversion, this line that needs to be crossed between the guys who, obviously not the guys who are doing LFR out of choice. That's fine. Those guys tend to know the situation as well. It's this vocal, and for some parts of it, let's be honest, some parts of it, before everybody starts saying you mean everybody, some parts of it, the uneducated, in terms of what's actually going on in the raiding environment, who just didn't feel there should be a difference between normal and LFR. I don't see why this difference should exist. In fact, a lot of people refer to the situation as the LFR nerf, which it clearly isn't. The gear level's relatively going to be the same. You're just going to have a different look, which you probably transmogged anyway. It's nice to see on the back of this that I think, bear with me on this one, but can you see the point I'm coming at? That designers spend a long time making armor sets, and they have to be starting to get a little bit pissed off with Transmog. Transmog is hugely successful, wildly successful, but where do most people go for their Transmog gear? Old raids. Far easier to conquer, and in fact, let's face it, a lot of the old gear sets in the eyes of the many are far better. I like to rock tier 2. It was a vanilla set. A vanilla set. It's almost a decade old on my Paladin, and I've still yet to see a set in my personal view that beats the Judgment set. Because I think it looks fucking astounding. And we've had nearly a decade to work on that, and every time a new piece of armor drops, I'm like, oh, nice, upgrades. Let's go transmog it, because it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? And if you're a designer, similar to how the developers and the designers of Naxxramas Vanilla felt, we have put tons and tons of effort into this, and nobody gets to see it. We've put tons and tons of effort into making loads of armor sets for people. Loads of armor sets that we think are pretty fucking cool. And you know what? People are just transmogging it. How are we going to beat that? One, by looking like you're doing something and wearing the gear that is appropriate to the content that you're doing means something. You don't want to transmog it because it actually does have a status now. It actually means something. This is a big, big change. And I think the developers and the designers have got together and said, you know what? Transmog actually is making people all look kind of a blur. That doesn't really suit an RPG feel. It doesn't flow with the progression of the game. What we need people to do is when they go into a new environment, a new expansion, new raid tier, new content, that they actually start to appear like they've done that content and people take note of it and say, where did you get that shield from? Where did you get that from? We don't really see that anymore as much because people get their new item and they're like, oh, I just want it to look like what I thought was the best. Because that gear generally didn't have much status. And people care about status. I'm not saying me, but people do care about status, right? Let's not live in a fucking fantasy world here. People do care about status. And if your gear doesn't have a status associated with it, then you're quite happy just to cover it up with whatever you think's cooler. We're going to see a change to that. We're going to start seeing loads more people not transmogging their gear. The Mythic Raiders, who are going to get very, very cool armor sets from what we've seen so far. And that could change. That could easily change. But those guys are now probably going to be pretty happy not to be transmogging that gear because it has a status associated to it. And then that leads to people realizing and associating a status with it. And perhaps some percentage of those people are going to go, I want to reach that status. I want to see what you have to offer. And then they're going to get into the raiding circle. And I've talked about it so many times. They start their journey to experience things that are in this game that they had no clue were there. And they're going to hit it with the gear. They're going to take it to the gear. They're going to take it to your arms. I think they are seriously working on trying to convince people not to transmog their gear. To give their gear meaning visually. The stats are always going to be there, transmog or not. But now they're saying that if you know what, if you make it look fucking cool and you make this armor mean something visually, when people see it, they go, ah, they don't just go, oh, Bloodfang, oh, Judgment, oh, Dreadnought. They don't look at it and go, yeah, cool, you managed to get it off the black market auction house, right? That's pretty awesome. You had some gold. Now they're going to say, ah, you're a Mythic Raider. Oh, you're a Heroic Raider. Okay, I see what's going on here. It's been a very long time for me personally. I mean, I don't inspect people. You guys know that, right? I don't inspect people. I don't give a shit. But it's been a very long time since I've looked at a piece of gear and known much more about it other than which raid tier it came from that I did years ago. Very, very, very rarely do I look at brand new gear. I could not tell you realistically what the visual aspects are of a lot of the new tier sets because I don't see them around. I don't see them around. I remember... Oh God, he's being rose tinted. I'm just saying in the scenario, I remember pre-transmog, you could tell what people's content and the gear level and progression curve were visually. It wasn't needing an inspection. I could tell if someone was wearing Onslaught. Oh, that guy's doing Black Temple and stuff. That's pretty cool. Oh, that guy's still working at SSC. I wonder how they're getting on. That was my perspective because I wasn't looking at people going, oh, you're still doing SSC? I was looking at people going, cool, that man. I wonder if they've probably not done Vash yet and stuff like that because I was interested in the raiding scenario and raiding side of things and there were other people like me out there. And it was pretty cool pre-transmog. And especially one thing that was particularly awesome is when you completed a set. I don't think people feel that way anymore. With transmog, you don't have that feeling of that last piece that's going to make it look boom. It's going to really splash the fucking jizz all over the back. You know what I mean? There was a great point during, say, let me think, which was an annoying armor piece for me to finish. Cho'Gall shoulders, heroic Cho'Gall shoulders on my Death Knight. So the Death Knight set for normal mode was blue, I believe, like blue and grey. And the heroic version was gold and red and breathed fire and stuff like that. And the shoulders are huge in that tier set. Yeah, they are. They're massive, enormous sets. I can't remember the name for the life of me. But I remember that I had these giant blue shoulders on my gold heroic set for ages because I was like last in line to pick up the shoulders, which was fine. I didn't give a shit. But I remember like waiting and being interested in just to finish the set off so my DK would look ultimately badass. That was cool. That was exciting. But with Transmog, I can hide that. I can hide that. It's not even an issue anymore. It's not, the excitement wouldn't have been there. It's like, oh, I've got it now. Now I can just remove my transmog or whatever. Blizzard is using this wonderful concept, and it's so simple as to give people a bit of status on their gear, hopefully to inspire other people. Don't get me wrong. People are going to treat it like, look at my gear. I am awesome. We had a Drama Friday recently where some mongoloid shaman said to somebody in his first whisper, I can tell you have inspected me. There are always going to be people like that. I don't condone it. I think you're a dick. But other than that, this is pretty great. And the response from the community is awesome. The LFR guys never expected to get the endgame heroic gear. They have no interest in getting to the hardcore of the hardcore. They see those guys probably as a pretty high profile, pretty far away from where they are, and they don't care about that stuff. They never intended to get it in the first place, and the normal raiders understand the situation. This feedback has been pretty awesome. I'd love to see your thoughts on why this lack of feedback's occurred. What's happened here? Because I think it's awesome. I'm so happy about it. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.